Ariel Helwani at the Affliction post-fight press conference. Frank Trigg. Frank, obviously I didn't get to listen to the broadcast, so how'd it go?
The broadcast went well. Very disappointed you didn't listen to it. You should have had it piped into your headset as you were sitting there watching it live. I think it went very well. There was a couple glitches in the very beginning due to the commission and the promoters weren't on the same page. So obviously the first fight came out and had to get called back in again. But other than that, everything went very, very well. First time that Jay Glazer and myself and John McCartney got together as a broadcast team, and it went very smooth. It went very well. I'm very excited the way things worked out. I really appreciate that Affliction brought me in on this. And Tom Atencio had been sweating his balls off the last 4 days, and Tom Atencio, is a friend of mine. I watched him go through this and almost have a heart attack trying to get this thing together, and now to see him up there at the press conference at the top of the booth, to be so happy that it's over and everything went as well as it did. And one more can be said. We just found out there is no more argument anymore. Pound for pound, the best fighter in the world is Fedor. We know this is true. We also know that it's true that the heavyweight division with Andrei Arlovsky and Ben Rothwell, who showed so much heart and spirit when he's fighting Arlovsky, with Tim Sylvia, who's a former UFC champ, Fedor demolished him in 36 seconds. You see this whole thing, and all of a sudden now there's a potential, obviously in the future, because Couture has his own things, that we have a potential for a Couture Fedor Emelianenko fight later on. If that doesn't happen, there's 8 or 9 other fights that can happen. That's just with the heavyweights, and they still haven't even progressed with Matt Lindland, the 85-pounders, and the welterweights yet.
You just answered like 10 of my questions in a row there, but
That's how I work. See, I'm a professional broadcaster.
Well, let me just ask you, because you mentioned that you think Fedor is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and this was obviously an interesting night because, a few miles away, Anderson Silva was doing his thing for the UFC. Do you think that he is the better fighter than Anderson Silva in terms of pound-for-pound?
Yeah, no, I'm talking pound-for-pound. I'm not saying like that BJ Penn and George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva should not be considered a pound-for-pound, but pound-for-pound, the number one fighter right now in the world is Fedor Emelianenko. That's just what it is. He is the best fighter there is out there in any weight class, any dynamic, how you put it together. He's the guy that is the man. Now, the other guys, obviously, you have to mention for pound for pound are, Anderson Silva, BJ Penn, George St. Pierre. In my mind, those are the 4 guys that have to be mentioned right now in pound for pound, the best fighters ever. You can make an argument to throw Randy Couture in there, off again and on again, but I bet against Randy every fight, and he keeps winning, so I'm not going with him at this stage either. I'm going to leave it alone. And especially since he's my training partner and one of my coaches, I don't want to, jinx him and then have him get pissed off at me later. But those are your top 5 for pound for pounds. Who else can you throw in there legitimately? And of those 5 guys, who's got the best record? Well, Fedor's only got it's undefeated. Who is
one loss?
That one loss it's not a loss. It was no contest. Remember, it's just like James Toney and Rockman fought on Tuesday night. They're trying to claim that Rockman quit sitting on the bench, but he didn't. It was an accidental headbutt before the 4th round. The rules automatically state it's a no contest. Same thing happened. It happened in 17 seconds. It happened before the 2-minute mark, so it makes it a no contest. It's a no contest. That's what it is. So Fedor is still officially undefeated. If he's still undefeated, then he has to be the best guy in the world because he's beaten everybody he's been put in front of him, and he's fought the top talent. From Mirko Krokop in his prime, I'm talking guys in their prime. He fought Mirko Krokop in his prime. He fought Nogueira in his prime. He's beat Fajita. He's everybody anybody that he could have fought in the prime. He fought except for Randy Couture and Josh Barnett. Those are the only 2 guys in the prime he hasn't fought yet. That's it. Everybody else is beat. How else can anybody else make an argument for the best guy out of the 5 I've mentioned that all deserve to be in there for pound best fighters? How is Fedor not the number 1 guy of that whole mess? It's impossible not to make him the top guy. So he's pound for pound right now the best fighter in the world.
All right. Well, you bring up valid points. If you were a betting man, would you think that Fedor's next opponent is going to be Josh Barnett or Randy Couture? Or someone else?
That's tough because it will be Randy Couture if they can get through the lawsuit. Or it could not be Randy Couture if they get through the lawsuit. It depends on what happens at the end of the lawsuit. So if it's Couture, then it's going to be because the lawsuit went out in Randy's favor and he's moved on to fight for Affliction. If it's not Emelianenko, it's because Couture has been pulled back into the UFC and he has to fight over there again. And then it could be anybody at that point. I mean, Barnett obviously is the next best choice. Actually, Barnett wouldn't be a bad first choice just because of how Barnett's been fighting the last little bit. But because of Randy's age, and you also want to make sure that you can kind of keep things progressing forward the way they are, you want to go ahead and try and put Randy in there as quickly as you can.
Honestly, were you surprised at how little Tim Sylvia brought to the table tonight?
No, you got to remember, this is a guy that I watch Fedor all the time. I've had to do studies on tapes of him. I had to follow him around, for a week in Tokyo. This is stuff that I have to do with this guy. I know this guy intimately. And this is a man that I sit down and I actually get him to speak English when no one else is around. Like, this is a guy that he actually speaks pretty good English that most people don't know about. And it's because he and I sit down on the couch and hang out and talk about our wives and talk about our kids and talk about what it's like and how somebody went and bought him a house because he was such a great champion and is the town that he's from. And he's like, I have an apartment. I'm finally my family here to give it to my mom. He gave the house to his mom. He still lives in the same little small, ratty nasty apartment that he's always been in because that's where he's successful out of. When you have the prime minister or the premier of Russia bringing you in for house parties, like come to my house. We're not having a party. We're not having this big convention. We're having a little house party. You're one of the invited 5 guests who are coming to the house. It's Fedor. This is a big deal. So I got to sit down and hang out with him, and as a result, I know what he does and how he can do things. So it wasn't that Tim didn't bring that much to the table. It's just that Fedor is that much above everybody else.
All right, well, it's not all TV for you. You got a fight coming up as well. You ready for it? World Victory Road?
I'm not ready yet. I mean, we got 6 weeks left, but yeah, I'm getting there. We're actually everyone else is going out tonight. I got to head back to the hotel, shower, change clothes, and drive back to Vegas this evening, and try to lock things up so that I can get ready and get back to training full time Monday morning. August 24th is going to come pretty quick, so I got to stay on it right away. Plus, I got one more trip for TNA I have to do in the middle of that, so I got another 2 days of pro wrestling I have to do in the middle of that as well.
Yeah, I'm a big follower of pro wrestling. I want to know what's the deal. I mean, you and AJ Styles, you guys are building something great, and you're doing great things with TNA. Is this something that you'd like to do, for a long time?
Oh, absolutely. I hopefully I'm good at it. The problem is we're not sure if I'm any good at it yet. It's easy for me to talk on the mic. It's easy for me to pump up a crowd and piss off a crowd and do the pre-tape stuff, but to do a match is the question. We have to find out if I can actually do a match. And if I can pull that off and I'm good at it, then I have a longevity. If I suck, then the game will be over very quickly.
You've been working with Kurt Angle?
Yeah, I've been working with Kurt Angle a lot, Booker T a lot, Kevin Nash has been helping me out a lot, and then of course Scott D'Amore is my actual straight trainer that comes and puts you through the rings and through the ropes every day, every time that I'm with TNA. All these guys are really, really helping me out. I've been very lucky. Tyson Dukes helped out quite a bit on the last little stint, and then Kaz has helped me out. And just every time I come over there, they give me something new. Like Christian Cage is really, because he's a big MMA fan. Christian Cage is a huge MMA fan. He's like, hey, you teach me MMA, then we'll go down and we'll work on pro wrestling. All right, game on. Let's make it happen. So after 3-hour sessions don't seem that bad when both guys are teaching each other.
All right, well, Twinkle Toes is certainly all over the map nowadays. Great job tonight, even though I didn't hear it. I'm sure it was a great job, and best of luck with everything.
Fucking outstanding is what it was. It was outstanding. What's wrong with you people? If you didn't hear it, you're idiots. Go and watch it again. I'm sure there's going to be someplace in there I made you upset. So you might as well go listen to it so you have somebody to yell at me tomorrow.
All right, thanks a lot, Frank.
Here, guys.